Welcome to Kicking the Rear podcast, where we dive into the real estate investment review. My name's Joe Yarshin, and this is episode 1, the pilot. And what more fitting way to start the podcast and the show off with The Power of One More by Mr. Ed Mylett. This book was introduced to me on the Bigger Pockets podcast originally, and I heard Ed speak very passionately on this podcast. And not only did it inspire me to go buy the book, but it helped inspire this podcast as well. So I wanted to kind of review some of the top takeaways from this book. It's not directly a real estate book, but I wanted to start with this one because it's a mindset book. And this mindset book really is important if you're interested in real estate investing. And overall, I would say this book was a 10 out of 10 for me. And I don't think anyone could read this without getting a lot of takeaways. There's just so many little tidbits. So I'm going to just go into it right away. The Power of One More teaches you to combine your gifts with directed, intentional thoughts and focused actions. Right away when I was reading this, I actually thought of the other book that's very similar to this, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of derivative information from there. And Ed actually speaks about that in one of his chapters toward the end. So something Ed talks about early on in the book, the power of one more is much like a thermostat. Your identity regulates your internal self-worth. He goes into the 3 ways this is possible through faith, your intentions, your associations. Who you are is a reflection of who you associate with. He talks about self-confident people have the ability to keep the promises they make to themselves. He really goes deep into standards and the difference between standards and goals. And standards are those things you do every day, those non-negotiable things, whether it's your fitness regimen, your diet, your the number of pages you read a day, your job, your family, walking the dog. Like, those are your standards that you don't conform on. You have to do them every single day. He goes into the matrix, escaping your matrix, being the one. This spoke to me because, first of all, I love that movie, but he goes into being the one in your family to lead by example. And he talks about how to do that by taking active interest in those self-bettering activities. He talks about the reticular activating system. He talks about the science of that, which is basically how you filter things in your conscious awareness, things that are important, things that are not important, things that filter out and filter in. He uses the analogy of, like, when you want a new car and you see a blue Bronco or something like that, where you start seeing it all the time because your brain is programmed to see it because it's something you desire, it's something you want. So you're becoming more aware of it. So I thought that was really good for real estate because, you keep an awareness of something you want in real estate, and then you start seeing it everywhere. Like, I know personally, I've been seeing a ton of signs for commercial real estate or lots for sale. And it's just like my brain is now attracted to these things. So I start to see them in real time. He talks about one more try in the chapter 13, chapter 3. He goes into compounding. Compounding is really important in investing in real estate, especially because, you close one deal, next thing you're closing 3 deals, next thing you're closing 10 deals. And it kind of snowballs into this compounding effect, which he talks about, just for your life. But I can see that practical application as far as real estate goes. He talks about time management. This is really great for real estate because, whether you're in the lending space like I am, or you're a realtor, or you are a broker, or whatever your role is in real estate. He talks about breaking it down into 3 mini days. You have your 6 a.m. to noon, that's day one. So you have your priorities in that span of time, whether it's meditation or your workout or your self-reflection, reading, hydration, whatever you want. He talks into day two. You go into noon to 6, and then finally from 6 to midnight. And if you manage your time with this sense of urgency, you can get so much accomplished in those windows of time where you have this almost infinite scale of time that you normally wouldn't, because of you're breaking it down into 3 smaller parts, and it's just more intentional that way. It's more urgent. On page 63, Ed talks about top performers constantly measure themselves monthly, weekly, and the average person only measures themselves in their annual goals or biannually. And he says, bottom line is just measure your performance. Chapter 5, having an awareness of your emotions. This is really great for real estate because, he talks about this collective psychology. I remember this on the Bigger Pockets podcast. Everybody's doom and gloom in the media, or everybody's like, oh, yeah, you gotta sell quickly, or you can't buy right now. The market's gonna crash, and it's just crazy. It's just like nobody knows what's gonna happen. You have market metrics, you have all these things telling you to go which way or the other, but at the end of the day, you got to manage those emotions and evaluate each deal separately. Evaluate each deal in and of itself. Does the deal cash flow? Does this make sense? Is this a good interest rate, or is it a bad interest rate? Is this a long-term hold? Is this a fix and flip? Is this a BRRRR? What is the purpose of this deal? Managing your inner circle, that's huge. I can see the retail application, the investment real estate application. You got to manage that inner circle. You can't talk about everything to everybody. And so he kind of just goes into that in really granular detail. Who's in your inner circle? Some of these people are going to be around for the long haul and some are not. And these people may come into your life for a minute and they'll be out the next. He had some really great quotes on that. I'm going to read some of these. These are just really good. He says, winning is more fun than fun is fun. Probably my favorite, or one of my favorites from the book. This one's good for real estate. Your obsessions eventually become your possessions. Page 34. Procrastination is opportunity's assassin. Great. Few things are more expensive than the opportunities you miss. You must learn to do simple things well. Dictate the terms of your day, or your day will dictate the terms for you. You are the sum of your relationships, tying back into the inner circle part of the book he talks about. You can't always control the outcome of your goals, but you can control your standards. So like I discussed before, one of my big takeaways was discussing the standards and how it relates to goals, and how achieving your goals is sometimes just as simple as maintaining your standards. It's not that you're just going to get to your end goal, but by every day doing these little things well, you get that much closer. And I've been really just trying to incorporate that in my own life. I think a really good analogy or example is through fitness. It's like, you want a 6-pack abs, or you want to run a 6-minute mile, or you want to bench 250 pounds. Like, those are all ambitious goals, but can you achieve them overnight? Probably not. No, the answer is no, you can't. But what can you do? You can maintain your standards, and those standards are 25 push-ups, 5 reps of bench, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever your fitness regimen is, your diet. And I tie this back to real estate because it's the same thing. It's like you don't buy 100-unit complex overnight. You start with the first deal, and then after you get your first deal, then you do the next deal, and then the next deal, and then maybe you jump to a 4-unit and then a 6-unit. And I've heard so many stories like that on Bigger Pockets, and just some of the people I've encountered, they talk about that as well. So standards are super important. He goes into thinking is good, overthinking is bad. Seems straightforward. Like, duh, of course thinking is good and overthinking is bad, but I think it's just like we get in our own way sometimes. I'm very guilty of that myself. You just got to put in the work and do it. Sometimes you just, quit thinking about it, quit talking about it, just do it. Like Nike, right? He quoted Gandhi here, which this quote specifically reminded me again of that other book he references, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Spoiler alert, we'll probably be reviewing that book as well. Here's the quote. It goes like this. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values becomes your destiny. So powerful. Lot to unpack with that one. But I think the gist of it is you start with these little small steps, and it's like momentum. It's like a snowball running downhill. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The last quote I had written down was, inconvenience is not easy, but in the long run, convenience is a lot worse. Again, this is just such a good mindset book with all these quotes and takeaways, but I highly recommend this book if you're starting a real estate investing journey, simply just to get yourself in the self-aware state of mind. I think that's what this book does, is it makes you more self-aware and intentional about your thoughts, actions, and goals. And that's it for today's pilot episode, The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. If you did like it, please like the video and subscribe. Look forward to doing more videos with you guys. Have a great day.